Good afternoon, everybody. Big Mike back here with you once again. Welcome back to Big Mike Talks. We're here. I'm going to be giving you my review for WWE Survivor Series War Games. A very hit and miss show. Definitely not WWE's best, but there were some highlights, so I am going to go over them right now, starting off with the women's War Games match. Basically, you have two women starting in the ring from each team. Each team gets in the ring after a certain time period, one at a time. When everyone gets in the ring, that's when the match starts and pinfalls and submissions count. Starting off War Games, it's Bayley and Nia Jax, which was super awkward. Like, I don't know what happened between their last NXT match, which was really, really good, and this, but they have, like, zero chemistry anymore. Then there was and then, of course, the other members of the team come in. You have Naomi coming in, who's wearing a little birthday hat. Happy birthday, Naomi. She grabs a toilet seat, covers, puts it on Nia's neck, and then just drop kicks it. We got multiple people coming in, including Candice LeRae's next. She gets a couple of chairs. And then we see the weirdest chair shot by Nia, who was going after Naomi. It looks like she was about to hit a headshot, but then she stops. Kind of a little bink of a shot to the side. I can understand her going there, but yeah, that was a bit weird. Next woman is Bianca Belair. She grabs a fire extinguisher, a table, and then Nia and Candice pin Naomi in the corner with it, which that was definitely interesting. Bianca then gets in, makes the save. Naomi with a Van Daminator. That was an interesting little spot. Next woman in is Tiffany Stratton. And she grabs a couple of trash cans, a trash can lid, and the heels just go to town for a little bit. Next woman in is Io Sky. This is where things pick up a little bit. Because Io, instead of going in through the door, she grabs a, multicolored trash can, puts it on her back, climbs the outside of the opposite side of the cage, and gets in, and it's a huge drop kick. Which, that was awesome. And she actually leaves the can up on, like, a little ledge that is now part of the War Games design. Next woman in is Raquel Rodriguez, and she had a tough little time. She was looking around under the ring for weapons. She kind of, I don't want to say botched it, but she got a little confused. Ended up grabbing a table and gets in there, hits a whole bunch of power bombs. Next woman in is Rhea Ripley, and she's got on, obviously, her protective mask, but it's designed like a skull with horns on it, and it looks awesome. So she comes in, she runs house, including big old chair shots. Faces fight back for a little bit. Then Liv gets led out of the penalty box. Let's call it what it is. And it looks like she's going up the ramp, which honestly I thought would be good strategy, because the only way the match starts is if Liv enters. So if she takes her time, her team could get an advantage. But instead, she goes backstage, grabs a baseball bat, comes out with it, gets in the ring, and a war game starts. That's when Rhea reaches, takes off her mask, revealing she's okay, at least. I don't know her current status, but yeah, that was wild. And everyone gets their good stuff in. One point, we see Io and Tiffany Stratton climb up the side of the inside of the cage to the ledges. Tiffany with a big old crossbody, and then Io puts the trash can on and does a blind moonsault, which that was absolutely nuts. So then Tiffany goes to a different trash can, pulls out a couple of things, grabs the Money in the Bank briefcase. And we're all thinking, oh, she's going to cash in now. It's about time. She's kind of looking at both champions who are down. But then Raquel stops her. So, another tease, which I am getting a little sick of. Then Io gets up, and she just fires the fire extinguisher everywhere. Then, one point, the heels get a set of handcuffs. They were going to try to handcuff Rhea, but she fights out of it. But Raquel ends up getting handcuffed. So, technically, they're down a man. Really, really awesome back and forth. Nia with a big old Samoan drop and a leg drop on Naomi. That only gets a 2. She sets Bianca at a table that's set up. Goes for the Annihilator, but Bianca moves. With a couple of faces hitting a powerbomb on her through a table. Then Liv Morgan with a code breaker into a chair. That was interesting. Then Rhea and Liv go up to the top rope. Not the top of the cage, just the top rope. Liv goes for Oblivion through a table. That gets blocked. Rhea Ripley with a Riptide through the table. And the win. So, here's what I'm going to say. Start of this match was a little awkward, was a little clunky. There was some stuff in here that really didn't work. But by the end, I was hooked. I was in. This was a serviceable match. Now, did this need to be in War Games? Personally, I don't think so, but it is what it is. So, and then to the discourse of people saying, oh, Rhea didn't need this win. It's to continue their story with Liv. Grow up. So, next up, we got the United States title match as LA Knight takes on Shinsuke Nakamura. Nakamura did kind of dominate a little early on, but Knight comes in, hits a burning hammer, which I did not see that coming. Only for a 2 count. Trading superplexes. Nakamura with a big old enziguri. Ends up whiffing on a first attempt at the Kinshasa. LA Knight with the Uranagi. Goes to hit hits the BFT. Nakamura rolls to the outside of the ring. They get back in. Nakamura with the eye rake. A reverse DDT between the two rings, then hits a Kinshasa for the win. So, this was definitely a serviceable match, but it felt like it could have been easily just taken place on TV. I am happy Nakamura won, which he definitely needed this more than Knight did. But, again, I feel like this could have been better just on TV. So, next matchup, then this is where the night gets a bit elevated, and it's a match for the Intercontinental Championship, as Braun Breaker takes on not only Sheamus, but Ludwig Kaiser. And honestly, this was part hoss fight, part kind of beating up Ludwig Kaiser, which was interesting. Yeah, this was an absolutely awesome matchup. Really good back and forth, in which, at the end, we see Sheamus hit the Brogue Kick. However, Ludwig Kaiser pulls him out of the ring, costing him the win. Match continues on for a little bit. Kaiser gets a chair, sets it in the corner. Braun Breaker at one point goes for a spear that misses. He goes head first into the chair. Kaiser goes for his reverse weird DDT Sister Abigail move. That gets blocked. Sheamus goes for a white noise. That gets blocked. Kaiser hits his DDT. Then going over Sheamus, Braun Breaker with a big spear. Then he also spears Sheamus to pick up the win and retain his title. I'm going to say this. The MVP of this match was Ludwig Kaiser. He felt like he finally belonged in this echelon. And hopefully we do get to see him hold Intercontinental Gold sometime in the near future. And then there's this weird match, as it's for the World Heavyweight title, as Gunther defends against Damian Priest. Obviously, this is the Priest rematch from SummerSlam, and yeah, it was. I wouldn't say it was move for move their match from SummerSlam, but it was. Nothing really more came about this. Yeah, Priest countered Gunther's finishers a couple. Priest going for a triangle lock that got countered by Gunther. Gunther blocking the Razor's Edge a couple of times. Gets Priest in the sleeper, hits him with a powerbomb, only for 2. Priest with a Hurricane Run off the top rope. Hits a Razor's Edge, only for 2. Goes for the South of Heaven, that gets blocked. Then Gunther with the Kimura lock, which don't see that often. Gunther then clotheslines Priest over the top rope. Gunther then, in an attempt at a superplex, pushes Priest off the top. And the ref, for whatever reason, is checking on Gunther in the ring. So out comes Finn Balor, hits a coup de grace on Priest. Gunther sees this, hits a big old dropkick on Finn, gets him back in the ring. Powerbomb, and then a hammer and anvil elbows, like the Blackpool Combat Club used to do, right into a deep sleeper, to pick up the win. Yeah, I hope we definitely get to see the more savage side of Gunther again. He was a bit too soft during his after he lost to Cody Rhodes. Although I do get it. You know, he's been a dominant champion for years now. So maybe a little vulnerability isn't the worst thing in the world. But this match, it was not great. So hopefully in the future, the next challenger for Gunther is a bit, I don't want to say a bit more worthy, but a little bit more skilled. And finally, we go to the men's War Games match. And oh boy, this one was interesting. So while, you know, the teams were getting loaded into the penalty box, CM Punk makes his entrance. He kind of riles up the New Blood. Starting off the match is Tama Tonga and Jey Uso. And I will say this was easily a better start off than, you know, the women. Next man in is Bronson Reed. He gets in. He grabs a couple of chairs. But then Jey Uso just starts throwing them at him. Which, that looks a little rough. Reed and Tonga then double team Jey a little bit. Next man in is Jimmy Uso. And they start doing their usual Uso things. Bunch of super kicks. The combination strikes, which is awesome to see. Next man in for the New Blood, it's Jacob Fatu, and he just immediately goes in and just wrecks everybody, including Reed, Tama Tonga, and Fatu doing the Dark Order's Pendulum Bomb, which is awesome to see here. So the next man in is Sami Zayn. However, CM Punk was going to enter next. Roman Reigns then gets in his way, puts his arm in the way, tells Sami to go in. Which, that's interesting. So Sami gets in. He fights alongside the OG Bloodline, including a moment where everyone was down. You see Jimmy and Sami doing their handshake. They then hug, which is a nice little moment. New Bloodline fight back after a little bit. Then enters the next New Bloodline member. It's Tonga Loa. And Loa gets a bunch of tables. He and Tama Tonga do some double team moves on their opponents. Next man in for the OG Bloodline, Roman Reigns was about to go in himself. Punk slips out the door in front of Roman Reigns, gets in, grabs a toolbox, and starts using that as a weapon for a while. New Blood fight back after a little bit, throwing pretty much everyone into the cage. Last man in for the New Blood, it's Solo Sikoa. And Solo, before he gets in the ring, he tells his boys to put their opponents in the doorway, and he slammed their heads into it. Like, good lord, I haven't seen anything that brutal since TNA when Abyss did that to AJ Styles. Then we see the double teaming tsunami moonsault from Jacob Fatu and Bronson Reed, which I know I'm going to be a little weird with this. I hope they become a tag team once this New Bloodline thing is over. So then Solo, with the chain he has, it's actually a lock. So he locks the cage door to stop Roman from coming in. So Roman makes his entrance from the penalty box. He's on the outside. He's trying to figure out his way in. He goes to open the door. He can't power it open. So then he finds a foothold and he starts climbing. Climbing the side of the cage. New Bloodline try to stop him. He fights them off. Hits a big old crossbody from inside the cage. So everyone's kind of laid out. Roman Reigns gathers his team. Except for CM Punk. He gets up on his own. New Bloodline are up in the opposite ring. Then Punk and Roman have a little face-off. I thought they were going to go for some fisticuffs. But out comes Paul Heyman. He's right outside the cage. And he says, guys, we need to get through this. The only way we survived is by War Games. That's when the bell rings and the official announcement, may the War Games begin. And they just start going at it. Like, this was an absolutely nutty brawl. Usos with some super kicks and a double Uso splash. Jacob Fatu gets in there, gives him a couple of headbutts and an eye rake. Solo going for a big old Samoan spike on Roman. He misses. CM Punk with a GTS. Gets Solo up for the GTS. Roman goes for a spear on Jacob Fatu. He moves. That hits Punk right in the gut. Solo with the spike, only getting a 2 count. Reed then gets in, hits a Death Valley driver into a Jacob Fatu moonsault into a Reed senton, only for a 2 count. CM Punk with a low blow. Jey Uso with a spear into a super kick. Jacob then sets Roman Reigns on a table that was set up earlier. Bronson Reed doesn't go just to the top rope, goes to the top of the cage. He launches himself. He's about to hit the tsunami. Punk then grabs Roman, gets him off the table, and Bronson Reed lands face first into it. Solo then with a Uranagi, Samoan spike, only for a 2. Jimmy and Jay with some super kicks, and then a 1D, which is basically a 3D. Uso set up a table, put Jacob Fatu onto it. Jay hits a spear on Tama Tonga. Sammy with the blue thunder bomb. And then Jimmy goes up to, again, on top of the cage, hitting an Uso splash through the table. Then the Usos, Sami Zayn, they help Roman Reigns and Punk up. And they have one man isolated. It's Solo. Usos with a big old combination super kick. Sammy with a haluva kick. Punk with a GTS. And Roman Reigns with the spear. So your winners, the OG Bloodline and CM Punk. They pose for a minute in the ring. Bloodline doing this. Punk doing this. They exit the ring. They all give Paul Heyman a little loving. With Punk saying, alright, keep your ear out of when I'm cashing in my deal. Also in the ring, Punk and Roman have a little face-off. They end up shaking hands. And then they all walk up they all walk up the ramp. And then they pose one more time. Honestly, I thought The Rock was going to come out at the end, be a big surprise, or at least, have a video message ready for him. But it was what it was. This War Games match was absolutely awesome. The show, like I said in the beginning, the show itself was a bit of a mixed bag. There was definitely plenty of good, but it felt more like a TV show than a special pay-per-view. So, hopefully we get some improvements, maybe some changes to the Survivor Series formula coming down the line. But, overall, I was entertained. One match that I think from this card you should go check out, besides War Games, the men's War Games match, is the Intercontinental title match. That match was easily match of the night. So, I hope you all enjoyed. Back to normal on Fridays, where I review Raw, the Raw After Survivor Series, NWA Power, which is doing their Samhain taping, and AEW Dynamite. And then also coming is the Big Mike Talks End of Year Awards, where I award who I think did the best in pro wrestling this year. So I hope you guys tune into that. Till next time, happy wrestling, everybody. Peace.